So I'm going to be keeping a close eye on the Illinois Supreme Court with the no cash bail case that's coming up next week. And then you've also got the gun ban challenge that's going to be coming up in mid-May. And all the questions about our judges going to recuse themselves, of course, we'll be monitoring that. But one of my colleagues, Brett Rowland, he's an investigative reporter with the Center Square. He's going to be in a different courtroom day after day here coming up with a case that's been pretty explosive. Brett, this is, I think, going to be the first that we talk on this, but I want to bring you on regularly to keep us updated on what's going on. But what do you anticipate happening here in the days and weeks ahead when it comes to the ComEd allegations of bribery against House Speaker Michael Madigan and others? What's coming up here?
So this first case focuses on 4 former ComEd employees or lobbyists. So those are Michael McLean, who you know was a longtime lawmaker. Then he was later a lobbyist for ComEd, and then Ann Pramaggiore, who was the former ComEd CEO, and then Jay Doherty, who was another ComEd lobbyist or did lobbying work for ComEd, and then John Hooker is the last one, and he was also a ComEd lobbyist and a former ComEd employee. So those 4 are facing charges of bribery, conspiracy, and falsifying ComEd records. And they were indicted back in November of 2022, and they're expected to go into the courtroom for the first time next week on the 14th.
Wow.
So we'll see how that plays out. There's a couple of pretrial issues that are still pending. A judge could decide on those today at a hearing this morning. But we'll have to see just what comes out today and what may come out before the 14th.
Well, and we've got just about a minute here with you. And again, we hope to talk with you with updates all throughout this case. I'm kind of jealous, not going to lie. I wish I could be in the courtroom up there in Chicago. But what are some of the issues that the judge could decide? Is it the issue of whether or not like Dick Simpson's going to be able to testify, or whether or not some other older news stories about emails that were controversial could be submitted to the jury? What are some of those things that the judge could touch on?
Yeah, so there's a lot. There were a lot of pretrial motions that were filed, and some of them are actually pretty interesting. So Michael McLean, the former lobbyist and close associate of Michael Madigan, was the one who objected to a couple of things that he wanted to keep away from the jury. One of them was an email that surfaced referencing a rape in Champaign, and he had written the email to, I think it was then Governor Pat Quinn's staff, and now nothing really came of that. Some people were fired, but whether or not there was actually a rape, it was never shown. So he wants to keep that as far away from the jury as possible. Ann Pramaggiore doesn't want the jury to know a lot of things either. She wants to keep out her salary, why she left ComEd, and all of the defendants want to keep news about the $200 million ComEd paid to settle corporate bribery, corporate criminal bribery allegations in 2012. They want to keep that deferred prosecution agreement out of the court record. They don't want the jury to see that ComEd paid $200 million. The defense says that, just seeing that amount of money paid out could lead the jury to believe the defendants are guilty.
Well, Brett, I hope that we could possibly connect again tomorrow morning after today's status hearing. I know you got to go, so get off the phone, and we'll talk a little bit later on today. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Greg. Have a great day.
You too. It is Springfield's Morning News, and we'll talk more with Brett in the future about his coverage of that case, of course, with the 4 defendants in the ComEd bribery scandal coming up in the weeks ahead. But next year is when Mike Madigan will have his day in court. Of course, everybody's pled guilty, or not guilty, rather, all pleading not guilty. Let me just make sure that's clear. They've all pleaded not guilty. So we'll see what happens in the days and weeks ahead, but it's going to be fascinating because one thing I think that this case it looks to highlight is how Illinois politics has allegedly worked, and is that type of thing corrupt or not. So we'll keep a close tab on all of that.